So let's just rip off the Band-Aid right away, shall we? My name is Kate, I also go by Velvet, and I take off my clothes on stage for a living. Thank you. Keep in mind, it's not a very good living, so it's one of many jobs that I do, but I am proud to include burlesque performer on that list. Make some brief noise if you have been to a burlesque show in town, maybe? Awesome. I said brief, people. Now, make some noise if you have no idea what I'm talking about. You don't really know what's going on. You're a little scared right now. Nobody's willing to admit it. Cool, cool, cool. All right, cool. So burlesque is basically a performance art form, right? And it usually involves a form of striptease. I am not a strip club stripper, but I have the utmost respect for these amazing humans. This is hard. I cannot do that, right? No, thanks. I am not here to compare the two or put down my stripper sisters. It's just that for me, coming from a theater background, burlesque found a place in my heart, and it's become a home for me. And part of that is because we have this amazing lineage. In the early days, Victorian burlesque was a musical theater parody with gender bending and role reversals, and occasionally a lady dressed up like a horse. And then, as it came to America, burlesque and vaudeville started mixing even more. It was still comedic and subversive, though. Opera was for the rich, burlesque was for everybody else. And you got more and more of the striptease as well, right? It's pioneered by these three women who are phenomenal legends, and their names you might be familiar with. But our legends are phenomenally diverse and inspiring. And some are even really hilarious too, like Rosita Royce. She actually used to dance with a mouthful of birdseed to help wrangle those birds in her act. And RIP to Satan's Angel, who actually passed away earlier this year after an incredible 58-year career performing and teaching in our industry. Probably the most famous current burlesque performer is Dita Von Teese. She has this porcelain goth retro look that really encapsulates what's come to be known as the 21st century version of classic burlesque. But the cool thing is we don't just do classic anymore. The term neo-burlesque is kind of a catch-all for everything that doesn't fit. I know, right? You saw it. Took a second, but you got there. Anything that doesn't fit. We've got gore-lesque, we've got boy-lesque, nerd-lesque. Basically, you just put lesque at the end of anything, and you got a show. It's amazing. Throughout its history, burlesque has been a game changer. And when I found my first troupe, Burlesque Moulin, a lot changed for me. My relationship with art, with my body, and with sex, or perhaps more specifically, how we view sex on a societal level. Because you see, we have such shame in this culture for anything that has to do with sexuality or nudity, and especially when those things are wrapped up with femininity. And the core of burlesque is really a subversion of that shame. I have seen so many performers learn to own their sexuality, both on and off the stage. And I think it translates for audience members too, right? I mean, you can't be seeing nudity and sexuality on stage and not take some of that shame antidote into your everyday lives. One of my favorite performers is a neo-performer named Dirty Martini. Now she goes by Dirty, it's amazing. She has a very neo style with some classic elements and some very hilarious elements as well. But seeing a body type like that on stage, it's important for a lot of us. This is me through the years. Clearly I have always had the sass, but I've also struggled a lot with my body, my awkwardness, my weight, my haircuts. Not so good. Right now, I am at the heaviest I've ever been, and I am not always thrilled about it. But thanks to burlesque, I'm also having the most fun I've ever had. I mean, this is the ridiculous I get to do on a daily basis. It's amazing. So maybe it's not about body love. Loving my body every day, it's hard, and sometimes I'm not up for it. Maybe it's more about body acceptance, about knowing that this body, just as she is good. Sure, there are things I'd change about her, but she's good. She gives me pleasure. From sexy times, yes. But also, from from a regular touch, from dancing, from a juicy orange. She is beautiful. She is powerful. I am powerful. And really, burlesque, in a lot of ways, is about power. One of the guests on my podcast said it so well. The power is in watching them back. More than any other art form, I think, burlesque is a two-way conversation. And I have seen it used to wield such power. Throughout the years, the world has tried to silence those of us who dare to defy the norms. It tries to tell us that we need to be ashamed of who we are, of what we look like, of who and what we love. But in burlesque, we are stripping down all of that too. We use our bodies and our art to liberate ourselves, to parody those who would demean us, and to demand justice, not just for ourselves, but for all of those who live outside the norms of society. Let's be honest, that's pretty much all of us, right? And here in Orlando, I am so proud to be a part of the powerful and intoxicating burlesque community. These are just a few, just a handful really, of the dozens and dozens of performers, troupes, venues, and producers who are doing amazing things to make Orlando a more powerful, more creative, and more inclusive city. I encourage you to find them, see their shows, fill up their tip jars, and if you feel so inclined, join them. Join us. I assure you, no matter your gender, your sexual expression, your gender expression, your interests, your passion, your physical makeup, your ability, burlesque could be a home for you, just like it's been a home for me. Thank you.